Go ahead.
Hi, Krista and John. This is Mike Milius with DEL Packaging. I want to take a short video to talk about your application for the overcapper for your lids that you're going to be applying to various yogurt products. I have the samples that you sent me here before me and want to discuss some of the options and some of the concerns that we have with the lid in particular. The first lid that I'm going to hold up is a lid that actually has the full membrane sealed to the lid, and it has the spoon inside the lid. It's our understanding, in addition to the spoon, there will be product of some type of a granola or topping that will go on top of the yogurt itself. Looking at this lid, it's very similar to some of the other applications that we've done. Here's just a few of them that I have lined up for you, and we will talk about these in greater detail in just a minute. Of course, it's a thermoform lid. It does have a full membrane. We've noticed that with the full membrane inside the lid, that the lid is fairly rigid. If we squeeze the lid, it doesn't flex. Without the foil in position, we notice that the lid is very flexible. So the full membrane does add some rigidity or rigidness to the overcap itself. And so we feel very comfortable and confident that we can apply this lid with our rotary capping system, and we can also feed it with a rotary capper. The standard flat cap, we only received a single flat cap, so we're unable to really look at how the lids nest or how they stack. But just looking at the single lid, we feel that they will nest and they will stack. If you look at the lid with the foil, it does nest slightly, but the foil keeps the lids apart, which is good for the rotary cap feeder. If I drop these lids, you'll notice that they fall apart most of the time, and that's what we want to see when utilizing a rotary cap feeder to feed the lids. For the standard flat cap, we are concerned that they're going to nest together, and when we try to feed them in the rotary feeder, that they will not break apart, and that will create jams at the exit of the feeder and cause problems. So there's a possibility that we may want to utilize a pick-and-place feeder for the standard flat cap. The pick-and-place feeder could also be used for the dome cap with the granola. But a pick-and-place feeder is more labor-intensive. It requires more operator intervention because the operator has to load the stacks individually into the pick-and-place unit versus being able to dump an entire box into a hopper and then walk away from the system. So I'll discuss that more in my email that I'm going to send you, along with some other video clips, and kind of give you some budget pricing on your various options for feeding and applying the overcap. Another thing that we noticed is, in particular with the cap that does not have a foil in it, the flat cap, this cap is very flexible. There's no rigidity to it whatsoever. We took some measurements with some micrometers on the thickness of this lid, and it was coming out to 0.009 to 0.011 inches. So it's a very thin material. The dome cap is equally as thin. However, the full membrane appears to add some rigidness to the lid, so it's less flexible. And again, we can see that when we take a dome lid that does not have a foil, it flexes very easily. So I guess what I'm saying is we're okay with the dome lid with the foil, but the lid without the foil is a little too flimsy. We feel that this is going to cause issues potentially with the application of the lid, feeding the lid down a conveyor or an airveyor on our system. So we may have to require that this lid be increased in thickness so that it's a little bit more rigid. To give you an example, this is a project that we did for Sabra here in the U.S. This particular lid is a very tall dome lid that has pretzels in it, and it's applied to a hummus container. This particular lid is very rigid. If you try to squeeze it, it maintains its form very well. And we took some measurements on this lid, and it's 0.020 to 0.027 in thickness, and that's in inches. So the thickness of this particular thermoform lid compared to your lid is almost double. This is almost double the thickness of your current lid. I'm not saying that you have to double the thickness of this lid, but I think about 50% thickness would have to be added in order for us to guarantee the efficiency of our equipment. So this is an application we did last year. You'll actually see a video of this. I think I may have already sent you a video. This particular application, we did use a rotary feeder to feed the caps, and we used one of our rotary cappers to plunge the lid onto the container. The video that you'll see has two systems in it. The rotary feeders were mounted up on a mezzanine or a platform. That is not a requirement. That was just something that the customer requested. And so we built that mezzanine or platform for them and set the two complete systems up here at our facility to do a factory acceptance test. So that's the one video that I'll send you. These are other applications we've done. This is a thermoform lid as well. This was for a project for Kraft that was applied to a Jell-O container. Again, this is a thermoform lid. Has the foil seal in it. It is rigid, very rigid. This is actually even more rigid than this lid. And again, I think that's because of the thickness of the material. It also may have something to do with the chemistry of the material or the characteristics of the material itself as well. This is a very old project. This was the first application we did for a dome-style lid that had product in it. It was for Nabisco. Had some cheese in the lid. The cheese is very old. Cheese is actually about 30 years old. This was done in the 1980s. It was the first application that we did for applying a dome-style lid to a container. And again, this was a rotary feeder application. These are all different applications we had done with thermoform lids, applying these lids to containers. And these two are a little bit different in the fact that they're not thermoform lids, they're injection molded lids. Our preference, of course, is injection molded because you see that the lids are more rigid, they're more consistent tolerance-wise. But our equipment will handle both injection molded lids like you see here, or the thermoform lids like you have on your application as well. This is also a thermoform lid that's somewhat similar to your flat overcap. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit different in the recess. This would require, again, a pick-and-place feeder to feed the lids, because when you drop this stack of lids, because of the way that they nest, it's very difficult to get them to fall apart. You'll see that these two stuck together, these two stuck together, and so they're not as effective feeding in our rotary feeder. It may require that they be pick and placed onto a conveyor and then fed over to the applicator itself. And again, you'll see a video of a pick and place feeder in the email that I will send you today. So I hope this gives you a general idea of our capabilities. We're still not quite at the point that we can provide a formal quotation. I will give you some fairly firm budget numbers on what your options are, but we are somewhat concerned with the flimsiness of this lid, and we will require that there be some improvements on that by increasing the thickness of the lid by at least 50%. We do think that on this lid, because of the foil, that it's acceptable, because again the foil has added some some rigidness to the lid, and it should function very well on our equipment, either with a pick and place feeder or rotary feeder, and the rotary applicator that will provide information to you on. Thank you for your time.